It's YouTube Wednesday! To start this, I'm using a box. This is just a base form on the interior. It doesn't matter what you use. Because of what I am using to hold it up, I want to reinforce the inside of the box. I'm going to reinforce it with itself by just cutting these off. I'm going to put them inside up towards the top on the other end. These are going to go all the way down on the other side of the box. And I do that to make sure they lay flat. I'm using a 10-foot piece of EMT pipe in order to be the basis of this. This is kind of the skeleton rod. If I were making these for my yard, I'd drive T-posts in and I'd do it on T-posts. I didn't want to run to Home Depot, so save yourself some time and use a T-post as the drive-in base. I want this to be about my height, and I want to have room to put it to the ground. So I cut over here with a pipe cutter. And it comes off. I'm going to very gracefully put this in the ground. I am attaching the box. Remember, I put the other things inside here so there was less stress on this piece and it wouldn't push right through. This is actually a really good height. It'll be really good height when I add the head onto it. I don't like the angle of this head. It looks really straight out. So I'm going to cut the bottom of this really quick to give it an angle so that when it sets on here, it's looking slightly down. It looks unnatural if it isn't facing down a little bit. So I have my head, and I'm just going to take a sharp knife, and I want to imagine the knife is the plane that the head is going to rest at. I want it to look a little bit down, so I'm going to cut it this way. Use a razor knife or whatever you feel safe using. This is what I had and I knew was really sharp, so I'm using it. I'm going to check my angle. I want even steeper than that. See how I did? And you can see now, instead of looking straight ahead, it's looking just a little bit down, which is much more natural. To do shoulders, I'm going to use this corrugated pipe. It comes in 4 and 6 inch lengths. It's very inexpensive, and I happen to have some laying around. Use caution when using sharp tools to cut this, just like I did. I'm just kind of looking at my box and figuring out where I have to cut it to make this fit. I'm going to do some test cuts. In there. This is normally a monster mud project, but I'm not going to use monster mud because I don't want to take that kind of time. I can build about 10, 15, 20 of these in a day if I have all my materials assembled and they're finished when I'm done. There's my shoulders, and I'm just going to shape them by allowing the weight of my material to shape them. I'm going to let the weight of my material to shape them by making them a little less stout. Now see, this side I haven't cut, and it holds itself up pretty well. This side is much easier to bend down, which is what I'm going to do with it. I can even take a heat gun, but I think the weight of my material is going to do it alone. I'm not worried about what's under here because I'm going to make this waterproof. I have the gist of this done. Now I'm ready for fabric. I want these to look thick, and I want them to either look like stone or to be mistaken for a person, so I want them to have some mass to them. So I want to start with a thick material. I'm using a 4-foot by 12-foot drop cloth from Harbor Freight. I bought 2. I'm hoping I can get away with using only 1. But I think I'm going to need 2. I am folding it cleanly in half, then in half up here. Use my scissors to cut just a little quarter moon out of it. And now this will become a nice poncho. Take as much time shaping this as you want. I'm cutting this one lengthways, right in half. I'm now cutting this in, I'm folding this in half again. Here's my halfway mark. Once again, I'm doing the fold. I'm doing an even smaller circle here, which will probably not be enough for the head. So I'll give it a little slip. I can probably get my head through there for its head. Right now, this figure can twist this way on this axis. I can stake this fabric to the ground if I don't want that to happen. Just with regular old lawn staples. The secret and speed to this and turning this into the statue look that I want is spray on Bedliner. I've got a couple cans of this, and I'm going to give this a full coat, and it's going to give it a hardness and a waterproofing that will help it stand up to the elements outside. Okay, I read the directions, so I shook it for 1 minute after the ball started making noise. This is very thick, and it's going to help me freeze this fabric in place. I want to reinforce every fold and waterproof every surface. The first coat gets absorbed. The second coat is where you're really going to get your texture from and a lot of your waterproofing. And you can just see the difference in thickness between the layers. To me, the success of this isn't in making one. I don't want one of these. I want 10 of these. I want 15 of these. That's when you can get away with having an actor in a similar costume who can move in and amongst the statues and get really good scares every time he plants somewhere new. So this is a technique, and you do the same thing to make your actor's costume, only pull it off the form when you're done. All right, it's going to be just as stiff. This one is obviously still drying, but it's going to be just as stiff, and he's going to have to, pick it up and move a little bit with it, but that's, part of the fun of it. It's going to really blend in and look good. I'm going to do a very simple paint job on this right now. Recording? If you make a prop taller than you, then you have to stand on stuff to paint it. That's a general rule of thumb. I have a couple quick things I want to do here to finish this guy off, looks-wise. One is I have a bag of moss and a can of spray adhesive. You're going to want to spray over this with acrylic or polyurethane in order to keep it on here during the season. But I love the look of it, and I don't want to give that up. So once this is dry and on, what I will do is I will hit it with polyurethane spray, which will help waterproof the moss and soak in and all that. This is just a bag of sheet moss. You can buy it at Hobby Lobby, really anywhere. Just kind of unfold it and press it in. And I'm firming up. I'm not 100% dry yet, but I'm not going to move around in the wind. And because it's plastic spray on there, it's waterproof. Again, I want 2 coats of the Bedliner over the whole thing, and I'll paint it however I want. I'm just doing a light paint job for nighttime. I don't have to paint to look awesome for the day because it's going to be viewed at night. And for me, this is going to be 1 of 10, 1 of 20. So I'm not going to spend a killer amount of time on it. Water, green paint, lighter green paint. I'm giving the whole thing a bit of a spackly spritz. I want dots, I want age, this is lichen, this is just color, difference. My paint has eaten away at the face inside of here a little bit. Didn't protect the head. If you're worried about your face inside of there, then paint it with latex paint first, and that'll be a barrier. I'm not terrible worried about it. I've just gone back and added a bit of black right to this. Yeah, it's dark. So I do want it really dark inside of there. And at night, I think that'll get me what I want. Like I'm doing the chunk dance. Truffle shuffle.
I feel like you're going to edit that part out.
Probably not.